Hey guys, in this video we're going to do chapter 3 of Path of the Just. If you missed the first couple parts, those are in the playlist. Otherwise, let's hop right into chapter 3. This is a full audiobook of the Path of the Upright. He who wants to watch over himself must investigate two matters. The first, that he contemplate what is the true good for man to choose, and what is the true evil for him to flee from. The second, on the actions which he does to determine if they are in category of good or evil. So we always do this one, but what about this? The first, that he contemplate what is true, that he contemplate what is true good for a man to choose, and what is the true evil for him to flee from. All right, this applies to both. This applies both to times when he is in the act of doing and when not in the act of doing. When in the act of doing, that he not do any act without first weighing it on the scales of this understanding. Not in the act of doing, that he bring up before himself the remembrance of his deeds in general and weigh them, likewise, in these scales to determine what they contain of evil in order to relinquish it, and what of good in order to perpetuate it and strengthen himself in it. If he finds in them of the evil, he should then contemplate and investigate it, reasoning out a strategy to employ in order to turn away from that evil and cleanse himself of it. Our sages of blessed memory taught us in their saying, it would have been preferable for a person had he not been created, but now that he has been created, let him examine his deeds. Others say, let him feel out his deeds. See how these two terms are very good and beneficial instructions. Examining of deeds is to investigate generally one's deeds and inspect them to see whether they contain good deeds, which one does not do, namely, that are not in line with the commandments of God and his statutes. All that he finds of these, he should eradicate them from the world. Feeling out of deeds is, on the other hand, is investigation even on the good deeds themselves to inspect and see if they contain any leading which is not good or any evil component which he needs to remove and eradicate. This is analogous to feeling out a garment to ascertain whether it is good and strong or weak and frayed. So too he should feel out his deeds to ascertain their nature through an absolutely thorough examination until they are left pure and clean. The general principle that a man inspects all of his deeds and watch over all of his ways to not leave for himself any bad habit or trait, all the more so any transgression or sin. I see a need for a man to be meticulous and weigh his ways each and every day, like the great merchants who continuously evaluate all of their business matters in order that they do not degenerate. He should fix definite times and hours for this weighing so that it is not haphazard, but rather with the greatest regularity, for it yields great results. Our sages of blessed memory taught us explicitly the need for this accounting, as they said, therefore the rulers said, let us enter into an accounting. Numbers 21:27. Therefore the rulers of their evil inclinations said, come and consider the accounting of the world, the loss incurred by doing a mitzvah against the gain earned through it, and the gain obtained by doing a sin against the loss incurred. This true counsel could not have been given, nor could its truth be recognized, except by those who had already gone out of the hands of their evil inclination and ruled over it. For the one who is still held captive in the prison of his evil inclination, his eyes do not see this truth. He is incapable of recognizing it. For the evil inclination literally blinds the eyes. He is like the one walking in darkness, where there are stumbling blocks before him, but his eyes do not see them. I think I don't have the blindfold over my spiritual eyes. I think I'm somewhat awake and seeing. This is what our sages said, you make darkness and it is night. Psalms 104:20. This refers to this world which is analogous to night. How wondrous is this truthful statement to the one who delves deeply to understand it. For behold, the darkness of night causes man's eyes to err in two ways. It covers the eye so that he cannot see at all what is before him, or it deceives him so that a pillar appears as if it is a man, or a man as a pillar. So to the material and physicality of this world, behold, it is darkness of night to the eye of the intellect, and causes him to err on two fronts. First, it prevents him from seeing the stumbling blocks standing in the ways of this world. Thus the simpletons walk confidently, fall and are not lost, and are lost without having felt any prior fear. This is what Scripture refers to. The way of the wicked is as darkness. They know not at what they stumble. Proverbs 4:19. And the clever one foresees the evil and hides himself, but the foolish commits transgression and is punished. Proverbs 22:3. And a wise one fears and departs from all evil, but the fools transgress and feels confident. Proverbs 14:16. For they feel as secure as an edifice, and they fall before having any knowledge whatsoever of the stumbling block. The second error, and this is even worse than the first, is that the darkness distorts their sight until they literally see evil as if it were good and good as if it were evil. Thus they strengthen in clenching to their evil ways. For not only do they lack the proper vision to see the truth, to perceive the evil right in front of their eyes, but they also see fit to conjure up great proofs and convincing evidences to support their evil logic and false ideas. This particular one right here, the second error, I have a little bit of a... it's affecting me a little bit. Sometimes I do think like, hey, if I do this, it's not so bad, but I know it's bad deep down inside. Scripturally speaking, it's bad. Unofficially. So, this is the great evil which envelops them and clings to them, carrying them to the abyss of destruction. This is what Scripture states: the heart of this people has become fattened, and its ears heavy, their eyes covered shut, lest they see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their hearts, and turn back and be healed. Isaiah 6:10. All this is due to their being under the influence of darkness and held captive under the dominion of their evil inclination. So, if you have either of those two symptoms affecting you, it means you have an evil inclination. But those who already escaped from this prison are able to see the truth clearly and can counsel other people on it. This is chapter 3, by the way, if I didn't mention in the beginning. I don't remember if I did. To what is this analogous? To a labyrinth. This is a garden planted for amusement, commonly known to the nobleman. The hedges of plants are arranged into many intricate walls, among them many confusing and interlacing pathways, all of which appear similar. The goal is to reach the lookout tower in the midst of the maze, but among these pathways, some of them truly lead one to the tower, while others deceive him, leading him to stray away from it. One who walks between the path is not at all capable of seeing or knowing if he is walking along a correct path or a deceptive one, for each one appears similar. There is no noticeable difference whatsoever to the eye beholding them. He will not reach the tower unless he knows the correct path through prior experience and visual familiarity by having entered it before and successfully reached the goal, namely the tower. One standing on the lookout tower, on the other hand, can see all of the pathways before him and discern between the true and false ones. He is in a position to warn those walking in them and tell them this is the path to take. He that is willing to believe him will reach the designated place, but he who is not willing to believe him, but would rather follow his own eyes, will certainly remain lost and fail to reach it. So too here, one who still has not ruled over his evil inclination is lost in the midst of the pathways and cannot distinguish between them. I am somewhere in the middle of this work. But those who rule over their evil inclination, who have already reached the tower and left the pathways and who clearly see all the pathways before their eyes, they can counsel those who are willing to listen. It is these people that we must trust. And what is the counsel that they give us? Let us enter into an accounting. Come and consider the accounting of the world. For they already experienced, saw, and learned that this alone is the true path, leading a man to the good which he seeks, and that there is none other besides this. The summary of all the matter is that a man must contemplate with his intellect, always, at all times, and also during the fixed appointed time of solitude, what is the true path according to the Torah that man must walk upon, and afterwards to come to reflect on his own deeds to ascertain if they are traveling in this path or not. For through this certainly it will be easy for him to purify himself of all evil and to correct all of his ways, as Scripture says, "Weigh the path of your feet, and all your ways will be established." Proverbs 4:26. And let us search and examine our ways, and we will return to God. Acha 3:40. So that was chapter 3 there. as you can see, chapter 3, and then if I go down, it goes down to chapter 4. So I don't know if the evil inclination is something that we're kind of created with, or if we kind of develop it and as we go towards it. Like if we do a sin, it builds a little bit, but if we clear ourselves of our sin and purify ourselves, then the evil inclination goes away. I'm not sure. I suppose that since we are not born in any default state like happiness, joy, sadness, humility, all those things are worked towards through experiences and actions. I suppose that that even the evil inclination is something that is acquired and attained through evil deeds, unfortunately. So, all right, that was chapter 3. Stay tuned for chapter 4.